post-pandemic world, mental health has become paramount. And when it comes to the mental health of employees at workplace, many companies are going the extra mile to ensure mental well-being of their employees. Now, when it comes to working models, hybrid mode is currently the most popular one. Although it has been greeted with a lot of mixed reactions, just like our Bollywood movies these days. So now, when we come to mental health of employees, does the new working model expose old and new biases? So this is what we are going to discuss today. This is Smitakshi, and today I have with me Ms. Snigdha Samantre, clinical psychologist practicing at MFine. Hey Snigdha, how are you doing?
I'm good, Smitakshi. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for being here. Now let's quickly cut to the chase, okay? I just kind of gave a very quirky introduction about how working models have changed now, and hybrid mode is the most preferred one these days, and it has been greeted with a lot of mixed reactions nonetheless. What is your take when it comes to this new working model and the mental health of employees? Some say that it's, a very relaxing, because, you kind of avoid all the office politics, while others have different apprehensions. So please shed some light on this.
See, Smitakshi, before the pandemic, work from home used to be a privilege. It's still a privilege for few people, right? But how hybrid work is perceived depends on many factors. One of the primary factors is the individual personality traits, So let's say if someone is an introvert, right? They would definitely want to be at the comfort of their home, work, right? And probably they find themselves more productive in that aspect. But if someone is an extrovert, they would actually want to step out, go to the office, connect with their co-workers, connect with people around, stakeholders, right? And that gives them a sense of accomplishment, right? So it depends upon individual personality traits. Second, it depends upon what is the nature of the roles.
True.
So we all are into different professions, right? Okay. So there are some professions where you can be at your home and work without any interference, or you would say like that wouldn't disturb the working style of the person. Mm-hmm. But then there are certain other aspects, like for example, when you're in a marketing team, you have to face, or you have field visits with, to meet your clients and all. In such a setup, you cannot work from home, right? So it also depends upon the nature of your work, right? What role is it demanding? Now, if this person has taken up this role out of the sheer desire or passion to perform that role, then they enjoy that, right? But if this person has taken up this role because they didn't find something better, now they don't tend to enjoy, yeah? Now, the third factor which depends upon, how hybrid work is perceived is every individual has their own cost-benefit analysis of, commuting to office. Or
especially in a city like Bangalore.
Absolutely.
Or any other metro for that matter.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you see the traffic, right? Okay. So everyone, and especially for, the freshers, mm-hmm. or the ones who are like 1 or 2 years old in their work sphere, right? So they focus more on savings, right? Okay. So if they're working from home, they're able to save more, right? Then there are people maybe a little higher on the ladder who have their own probably vehicles to commute, right? Mm-hmm. So they don't find it much of a challenge, right? But then in Bangalore, like with traffic, let's say people who stay with their families, children, for them, managing that personal and professional aspect of life. So every individual has a cost-benefit analysis inside their mind of what price they're having to pay for going to office and working. So based on that, they take a call. And if these needs are not met, it either leads to satisfaction or dissatisfaction. And the last and most important factor is at which point of time are they in their lives.
Got it.
So let's say if someone is, just a fresher, just started working, right? And they're full of energy, enthusiasm, looking forward to new takes, responsibilities in their life. They would definitely want to come to the workplace,
get some face time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Then make friends, go out, have after work party.
Absolutely.
Right? But then if we talk about someone who is getting into more responsible phase of their life, mm-hmm. So let's say there is older parent to take care at home, mm-hmm. right? Or there is a pet at home, right? Or let's say someone is just about to get married, or they're already married, right? They have a family, right?
Yeah.
So when these multiple responsibilities are there around them, they would definitely want to maintain a fair balance, right? And commuting to work, commuting back from work, it definitely takes away a lot of time, especially in metropolitan cities where you don't, unless you're, living next to your workplace,
Agreed.
you don't reach on time, right? So the different times, the same person may have wanted to go to work when they were not into many responsibilities of their life, but when they get into that, they would prefer, hybrid style of working.
Got it. Very well explained, Snigdha. So if you can just sum it up for our viewers, like the 4 factors that you just mentioned in a nutshell that actually drive the mental health of employees in this post-pandemic working model. Can you please list those?
Sure, Smitakshi. So to sum up, the 4 factors are: number 1, the individual personality traits; number 2, what roles and functions they are into;
Absolutely.
number 3, the individual cost-benefit analysis of traveling to work or commuting to work; and the 4th factor is at which stage in their life they are. So whether they're married or they're not married, whether they are a fresher or they're quite experienced in their life, and whether the roles and responsibilities in their life are more or less other than work responsibilities.
Noted. Very well. I think before we move on to the next question, I would like you guys to let us know in the comments below that which of these 4 factors mentioned by Snigdha drives your mental health when it comes to this hybrid or remote or back to office working model that we are seeing in the post-pandemic world. Right? Okay, now let's move on to the next question, Snigdha. So Snigdha, in the current backdrop of a hybrid work model in the post-pandemic world, leaders may kind of have some biases, knowingly or unknowingly. For instance, if I have a requirement for a certain project, I may approach someone who is readily available in front of my eyes in the office versus, connecting with someone who is perhaps working remotely from home. What do you have to say about these kind of biases that leaders may have towards their employees?
Right, Smitakshi. So you see, generally, work from office is perceived to be more, serious and responsible, right? And there are some myths associated with work from home. For example, work from home is not real work. When you're going to office, you're really working, right? So people who are working from home are not hardworking. They're lazy people. People who, generally, it's also believed that when you're working from home, the productivity reduces, right? Then some say that work from home, there is no accountability, right? So these are a few of the myths associated with working from home or hybrid style of working. So to counter these myths, I have few statistics for you, Smitakshi.
Please go ahead. Yeah.
So some studies have reported that by the year 2025, the workforce will comprise of 75% millennials. Now these millennials have their own preferences. So in a particular study, 86% of the millennials reported that they prefer a hybrid mode of working, right? And in the same study, they reported that, when the organization gives them a hybrid working style, so 82% of them reported that they're more likely to be loyal to the organization.
Okay.
And 85% of them have reported that they are more productive when they are working from home.
Got it. So I think harmless to say that hybrid is kind of the future now, like the way we are looking at
Absolutely. Hybrid is the future, Smitakshi, and millions people have actually benefited from hybrid working style. And you see, such a working style gives a platform for everyone from any corner of the world to work, And for that matters, let's say mothers who want to work, but they have kids at home and they cannot work, right? So for them, a hybrid mode of working helps them, right? And now in this hybrid mode of work also, a lot of companies are hiring, employees who are not based out of their working place.
The headquarters.
Right? Headquarters. Exactly. So now this gives them the opportunity to work for MNCs, for or to fetch themselves their dream job. So yes, this sort of working style is definitely going to stay because I told you, right? Millennials' first preference is a hybrid form of work, and we don't know how the Gen Z is going to be like.
True.
Right?
True.
So they will have even tougher preferences than these.
Got it. That's very true, Snigdha, and the way you have explained, back it up with the statistics, it's quite commendable. But I do have one quick question here. Do you think that employees generally tend to get a lot more pings, so to say, when they are working from home, because the power of sight, when you are actually seeing someone work in front of you in the office, that power of sight takes over?
Do I need to answer that question?
I think it's a rhetorical question. Viewers, do let us know in the comments below that have you faced an exponential increase in the amount of pings that you get from your managers or associates when you're working from home versus when you're working from office, right? Now let's move on to the next question. So Snigdha, I think at the beginning of our conversation, you kind of emphasized on how a lot of things depend on which stage of life you are in, or which point in time are you joining the organization. So my next question is actually about it, that do you think that it's particularly difficult for new joinees, right, to take care of their mental health in this setup versus people who have been already working for the company for a while now? What's your take on that?
It could be. There's a possibility, Smadakshi, because you see, it again depends upon, as I mentioned to you, like the individual personality traits are there. So if you're someone whose need of belonging is very high, right? So you would definitely want to go to your workplace and feel a sense of belonging, interact with people, right? But then if you're someone who's pretty much, confident about yourself, and as long as you're given the right resources, you can work on your own. So you're self-driven, motivated, right? Then that may not make much of a difference for you. But here again, there is one more factor, is the experience of work that you have, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if this is a fresher, so when you, like you and I, we remember, right, when we went to our workplaces for the first time, right? I mean, imagine if we were working from home. Like, we already have an imagination of how our workplace should look like, right?
It often feels like that first day of school, or coming back to school after a vacation, and everything has changed suddenly.
Absolutely. So then suddenly that idea is challenged. Oh, where am I? Am I even working? And it only feels like you're working when you see that salary credited to your account at the end of the month.
Yes.
Right? So, but then if someone who has pretty, good enough experience, so let's say 5-6 years of experience in the work sphere, and then they're changing their jobs, and then they're joining somewhere, they may not need that level of motivation to go to the workplace. They can continue working, right? So these are certain parameters, right? But then they are very trivial. They can be managed with a good, orientation program for the new joiners.
Absolutely. So I think a lot is dependent on how the HR handles the onboarding process to make the new joinees feel as involved in the organization as they should be.
Absolutely. The onboarding relation should be in a way where, they reach out to the new joinee a day prior to, make them feel comfortable. And then then they are already onboarded. They are told about, like they should be their go-to person, right?
Absolutely.
So they may have doubts of who to reach out, who not to reach out, or they may be in an ambivalent stage as to, do I reach out or do I don't? I mean, should I not reach out, right?
Yeah.
So
those inhibitions.
So there should always be a go-to person. Then, even if the nature of the work is hybrid, let's say, so let's say the work has started and it will take them some time to travel to their workplace, to their headquarters for that matter. So in that case, a warm welcome kit, right, from the respective organization always makes them feel like, okay, something happened to me. I now belong to this organization, right? Then blended series of, one-on-ones, interactions, virtual interactions, interactions with group, and just not work-related talk, but non-work talks also. So you see, earlier when we were, we used to go to office regularly, these non-work talk were very natural.
Yeah.
You would catch up with your colleague
Yeah.
for the lunch or for a tea break and just talk about life and not just work,
Yeah.
right? But then when we are especially operating from a virtual medium, it's we need to keep in mind that there should be interactions and these virtual one-on-ones just to talk not about work but about non-work,
Beyond work.
beyond work.
Got it.
Right? And it is also important that these new joiners are actually, facilitated with mental health awareness programs,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
So basically, these programs can be, constructed around what are the mental health challenges that are involved in hybrid style of working, right? How to identify them. Right? Or what are the mental health challenges that they can face if they're not able to balance their personal life and professional life, right? So, an awareness about mental health and how to identify the signs, and then once you identify, how do you address it? So, who are the resources, right? Who do you reach out to for help? So, basically, help seeking. It's very, very important.
They should be kind of given the assurance that we do have this resource dedicated in case you need. That is very important that, we are approachable.
Absolutely, absolutely. So this should be a part and parcel of a complete program which is designed for the new joiners.
Makes sense. So viewers, I'm pretty sure that a lot of you must have joined new companies during the COVID pandemic and after that. Let us know in the comments below how smooth or hassle-free was your onboarding process. Did it make you feel in any way, that it's impacting your mental health in a negative way because, things were not so smooth, or it was like as smooth as a cakewalk? Do let us know in the comments before we move on to the next question. So Snigdha, my next question is that in a given scenario, when an employee is not able to be physically present at the workplace, but he or she constantly has this feeling that this lack of proximity with their respective manager is somehow impacting their performance as well as their reputation. What should they do? What would be your advice to such employees?
I think my advice to such employees would be if they're really concerned about their reputation or their performance, or they're not very sure about how their work is being noticed or perceived.
The visibility.
Yeah, I think they can make use of a common communication channel. It's the best way to function. So maybe dropping just a hello text in the morning when you log in. Yeah, just not to your manager, but to the entire team, right? Making them, understand that you're available for work, and if there's anything, they can reach out to you. Right, and checking with your manager for the day, like if there are anything other than assigned, anything else which needs to be done by the end of the day, right? That would help, right? And then also asking your manager. See, you have to understand here that your manager will not reach out to you every time asking for things because they're managing, they have more work.
Absolutely.
Right? So they may miss out. It may not be intentional, they may miss out. But then you have to be mindful of the fact that if you are really concerned about your productivity, you should, just check in with your manager, ask your manager for regular feedback, right? Express your aspirations, where you want to head, what you want to do, right? And I think such connects can happen when you increase the frequency of your visits to workplace. Right? So maybe if you are visiting, whatever number of times you're visiting to workplace, just increase it by 1 or 2 more, right? Make sure you have your adequate face time. And make sure that when you're visiting, you already write a mail to your manager to make sure that they know you're there in the premise, right? And meet them, talk to them, go out for a tea break, maybe, right? So because honestly, we remember people more by their faces than by their names.
True.
Right? So it's also important that in this hybrid working style, you are maintaining a fair balance of your presence at workplace and your non-presence at workplace.
That's true. That's absolutely true, Snigdha. And I would also like to add here that you do share your opinion that for those employees, like we said, who for some personal reason may not be as frequent as others to be present at their workplace, but somehow maybe their contributions to certain projects or certain discussions, brainstormings may not get as noticed as it would if they were present physically. What would you say to such employees, that how can they make sure that their visibility, their contribution is noticed, it's in the limelight, and not lost in the background?
I think expecting it to be in the limelight is a very, it's a little complicated, right? But yes, who is the immediate person who should notice your work? It's obviously your manager, right? And you must ensure that your work is noticed by your manager, right? And if there are any direct stakeholders you are interacting with. So, a simple way is tagging in the mails. I mean, you have done a particular job and you just submit it, right? I mean, it's there. But then a mail post that this is done. If there is anything, you can let us know, right? That would help bring a lot of visibility to your work, right? And sometimes, I mean, this is also something I wanted to bring up, Smitakshi, is a lot of times, we get disappointed when we don't get these immediate responses on mails, right? We think that, okay, maybe this was not taken in the right way, or maybe there was something
it wasn't
more
considered important enough.
Important enough. So to all those people who get bothered by this, I want to tell you that please understand that your manager or whoever you're reporting to may be at a different level with a different intensity of work. Even if they would have gone through your work, they may not have found the time to reach out to you.
Yes.
And while I don't say, there may be other managers who make sure that they, respond to each and every mail and make sure that their team is heard, right? But then, we are working with different personalities of people here, right? So a delay in response, or let's say no response to a particular work or a submission should not be taken to heart, and you should not feel dejected by that, right? That is where a fair balance of understanding and emotional intelligence is needed. This is what I would like to say. All of those who have, who get very, petrified by not receiving a response to their mails.
Got it. I think the key takeaway here is, Snigdha, that keep the communication channel open.
Absolutely.
In order to ensure that your work is getting noticed, you need to make sure that, you are keeping the channels open. If once or twice it was a miss, then don't lose heart. Keep trying, and it will be noticed. Good work doesn't go unnoticed for a long time.
Absolutely, and we can't expect people to mind read us, right?
Absolutely.
So if our managers are not reaching out to us with feedback, we can always reach out to them.
Yes.
And it's a good way, when they give you feedback and you're constantly connected, you know what you're doing and what you are expected to do,
Absolutely.
Right? That means you don't feel lost. You have a direction at work.
Yeah. So, Snigdha, my last question to you for this session would be that we spoke a lot about the employee side of things. Now coming to the leaders, the managers, how do you think they should be handling the scenario where a few members of their team are working from home and the rest are working from office, and kind of make sure that none of their mental health suffers? What would be your advice to these leaders?
My advice to these leaders, number one, would be to get themselves aware about mental health issues first, right? So when you are yourself an aware person, you know how to identify mental health issues. You can definitely help identify these issues in your team members, right? So they should generate self-awareness about these issues first. Second is whenever there is a team connect, right? So some would be working on a remote basis, and some would be at office, right? So maybe while there's a big screen where you can see your remote employees, you're also sitting with your other team members who are present at the office, but the interaction takes place at the same time, right? So that would make them feel a part, inclusive, and you should encourage them by telling them, we are really missing you at workplace, wish you had been here, do come over next time,
and taking their opinions while
absolutely. So it is about making them feel valued, right? And all of us love feeling valued, actually.
That's true,
right? The next important thing is to create that space for your team members so that they can reach out to you and feel free to discuss about their emotional issues with as leaders, we need to be approachable. Approachability is a big factor here, right? If someone is fearing before speaking to you, should I not, should I? That means you haven't set that platform for your team members where they feel comfortable enough to reach out to you.
Absolutely.
Another great way of connecting is storytelling. You remember, Smitakshi, we all grew up when we were young listening to stories, how much we loved and how much we understood from stories, right? So it is the same brain, just a little bit evolved, right?
Yeah.
So when you share your personal journey, story of your personal journey, story of your challenges that you faced as a leader. I mean, you are a leader now, but yes, of course, definitely you evolved from a stage to this.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
So when you share your personal journey, story, give your personal examples, people connect. And then you are not that, that figure that everyone thinks as special, but you are just like them.
Yeah.
And they connect to you because now you have come down to their level to connect with them, form that rapport where they think that, okay, if my boss is going through this, I'll go deal with, why not I?
Yeah. It's like personifying the person.
Absolutely. And I think we all individuals as humans, we have unique journey and we have unique stories to tell people. Then why not?
Yeah.
If that can motivate them and bring out the best in them.
Absolutely, Snigdha.
Also, Smitakshi, leaders need to be sensitized towards being more observant, right? You have to observe tiny details and the changing details, like a sudden change in your employees' behavior, or let's say in your team members' behavior. Like suddenly they're ghosted. Right, they're not there for the meeting, and there is no intimation from them prior that why they are not present. Using monosyllables, like usually this is a very talkative person, but suddenly started using monosyllables or just giving a short sentence replies. So what changed, right? And being observant of their performance. So you have a person who has been employee who has been performing quite well, and suddenly there's a decline in the performance. So why did it happen? So being sensitive to these small tiny changes and asking can bring big difference. A lot of times we don't notice.
Absolutely.
Right?
Identifying is the first step.
And you're a leader because there are so many people who are looking up to you, right? So you just cannot miss on this factor that you're not observant about small changes. And the last but not the least, organizing mental health workshops, mental health talks, where all the employees are empowered to understand the importance of mental health. Because you see, our mind and body is connected, right?
Absolutely.
And what we bring to the table at work is the creation of a mind. And if this is not taken care of, the work will not be taken care of. Right? So making those avenues and platforms for your employee to understand mental health, to create a stigma-free environment where anyone at your workplace can comfortably talk, hey, I'm feeling really, really sad today, and not feel embarrassed about, crying or drops of tear rolling down. Not feel embarrassed because they are very normal human emotions, and they need to be respected like other emotions as well.
Absolutely, Snigdha. Thank you so much. I couldn't agree more. I think you have shed a lot of light on this topic, which is quite often quite less talked about. And yes, the scenario is much better than what it was years ago, but I think we still have miles to go where we can actually see mental health in India, especially being talked about without any stigma openly. Viewers, I hope you enjoyed this session. Please do stay tuned to the MFine handle for more such videos in the coming days. And keep taking care of yourself, not just your physical health, but also your mental health. Thank you.